I have the pleasure of introducing Tony Beltran, or Tony Beltran. It is quite an honor, Tony, for you to have selected me to do your introduction on your graduation. And I just want you guys to know that I'm not going to speak about Tony's clinical accomplishments and abilities. I'll leave that for her supervisors and Dr. Lee's final evaluation to do that for you. I have no doubt that you've done amazing, and we are so fortunate to have you in our program. I'm going to go a little bit off script here because Tony and I connected when she started our program. She came in as a PGY2 as a transfer, and what stood out to me more was that I was kind of seeing myself, the representation and the identity of seeing a Latina coming into our program. And as the weeks went by and the months have gone by and the years, we have connected over many things such as singlehood, being single mothers, raising our children, the importance of family, the importance of being around family, and also the balancing act that it can all be. And I admire you, Tony, for doing it all and not giving up and not getting discouraged when things got tough for you. You've been kind and you've been warm and you've been helpful. You have helped me through my difficult moments. Your challenges and obstacles have only made you stronger, more determined, and accomplished. I spoke to your mom to get some insight about you and what life has been for all of you. And she knows that you're a strong woman and that you will continue to succeed, no matter how difficult or challenging the obstacles will be. And I know that is where you get your strength from. So I know that you have the strength in you and will always have the support of your family and your loved ones and of your boys to keep you pursuing your dreams. Tony, keep working hard. Be the inspiration that you are. Share your kindness and your compassion. And I'm gonna leave you with a quote from my favorite motivational book from Dr. Seuss, of Oh, the Places That You'll Go. You're off to great places, Tony. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way. Felicidades, Tony Beltran.
So before I speak about Rosa, who I'm very excited to introduce tonight for our graduation, I wanted to personally acknowledge our 3 chief residents. They've done an incredible job keeping our program connected and functioning during this unprecedented time. Nate Hoyt came up with the best nickname for our 3 graduating chief residents, Caleb, Rosa, and Monique: Earth, Wind, and Fire. Caleb has been our grounded foundation, securing us to each other. Rosa has been the driving force behind movement and change, and Monique is the spark which brings us life and energy. I want to personally thank our 3 chief residents for doing a spectacular job this year. We are all so grateful. Tonight I'm going to be giving speeches for both Rosa and for Caleb. I've decided to fill my 2 minutes with quotes from residents whose lives have been impacted by these 2 quietly strong forces of nature. Rosa. And these are all quotes from residents. I've had them texting me over the last month or so, and it's just a collection of their comments and then some of mine. Rosa was my senior on CNL during my intern year. She would always take the more complicated consults and be the one to drive to East Campus to ensure I didn't get overwhelmed. Rosa unexpectedly brought me a Starbucks one day when I was working at the BMC, and I wasn't even on call. I hope that I can be just like Rosa when I grow up. Every now and then, during difficult situations, I'll sometimes remind myself to channel my inner Rosa. I remember when Rosa and I were both visiting medical students from outside institutions. Rosa was awesome. That month, we found ourselves showing off each other rather than showing off ourselves. Rosa stands for rising over setbacks always. I remember ranting a lot as an intern, especially at paint nights. Every time I peeked over at Rosa's painting, she was working on these incredible clouds. They were fluffy, wispy, and bright. As a timid 4th-year medical student who just learned I'd matched to residency halfway across the country, I remember the first text I ever received from a Loma Linda resident. "Welcome, I'm Rosa, one of the PGY2s. We're happy to have you here in our program. I felt immediate warmth, gratitude, and relief to know that there were awesome human beings waiting for me as I trekked into the deep forest of intern year. Multiple residents independently echoed one sentiment throughout their texts. Rosa is like the big sister I never had. So I'll end with my story. In Rosa's second year, she spent a precious weeknight off keeping me company in the medical center cafeteria as my husband Brian underwent a grueling 6-hour neurosurgery. As we worked on art projects together, Rosa's mere presence brought me the comfort and peace that I so needed. I will always be grateful. Rosa, like the wind, you effortlessly maintain a balance of strength and softness, movement and tranquility. You have created a safe space for those who are quiet to have a voice. This residency is a kinder place because of you. There is no doubt that your skills and abilities will serve you in your upcoming role as VA faculty. I am in awe of you. Okay. Congratulations on your graduation.
This is an honor to talk about Dr. Mamdu Hana. I looked up what Mamdu means from Arabic, one who is commended, praised, glorified. Yeah? I worked with Mamdu for over 3 years. It is clear to me that he brings a unique perspective to his life and to patient care. Mamdu takes great interest in seeing the person well beyond a disease process. He views a patient from a biopsychosocial religious perspective, viewing all aspects of an individual, like you would want him to if he was treating a member of your family. Mamdu presented for cultural psychiatry on the Coptic culture, educating his peers about this frame of reference in order to gain a better understanding in working from persons from this culture. Beyond knowledge about medications and medical conditions, Mamdu took great interest in therapy with his patients on a personal level. He did not shy away from working with a 32-year-old Hispanic male who had great difficulty in trusting people. The patient was schizoaffective with mistrust of most persons in his life. The patient was suspicious of me as the attending joining the meetings and would ask if I could leave within a couple of minutes, which I did. The patient was able to develop a trusting relationship with Dr. Hana, talking about fundamental religious matters. Dr. Hana was asked by the patient personal questions and chose to disclose that he was Christian, which brought in a meaningful experience in building a therapeutic alliance with this person. Dr. Hana was awarded a Southern California Psychiatric Society 2021 Excellence in Education Award last month. Mamdu also talked with me about Marianne, his fiancée, in Cairo. She happens to be a dentist, as is my wife, Julie. So we had some good chats about dentistry. We were also able to talk about Egyptian foods, as I spent some time in Lebanon when I was in high school. Mamdu plans to live and practice in Southern California. I pray for God's blessings, Mamdu. Thanks. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Jim's favorite verse. I want to acknowledge Caroline, Jim's wife, who I believe is watching this. You have all seen the quote from Jim as you enter the BMC on the wall in front of you by the elevators. He was my friend, my colleague, and a source of inspiration. Let me tell you just a little bit about Jim. In 1967, Jim accepted a job as the first psychiatric social worker in the Department of Psychiatry. He was the social worker when I was chief of the inpatient service. From him, I learned what a crucial role the social worker is on a treatment team. I also found that Jim was the best marriage counselor I ever found. I do not like conflict in my office between patients' spouses. When it would start to get heated, I would refer them to Jim. He was calm, had a wonderful sense of humor, and could somehow get fractious spouses to like, if not love, each other again. In 2001, there was a shooting at our clinic in Guam. One worker was killed, and others were traumatized. In 2001, Jim and I traveled to Guam and were involved in critical incident stress debriefing there for a week. You get to know somebody pretty well when you live in the same place for a while. He was an inspiration. Of course, I wish Jim were here to make this presentation himself. I think he would be surprised that each year one of the residents would get this award. Tonight I'm pleased that this award goes to Joy Lanuo, MD, who I believe to be a very good psychiatrist. She and I shared a weekly supervision time. Please join me in congratulating Joy on this award. Thank you.
Hello everyone. I'm really happy to be here today to be presenting Dr. Monique Harrison for graduation. For this presentation, I thought it'd be most appropriate to do one final session of feedback rounds, kind of like in memory of all our time working together. So now, Monique, I know you are used to doing the feedback bidirectionally, but since this is our final session, I think I'm going to do all the talking. But I do have a piece of advice for you. You can just relax, maybe just a little bit. I know what you're saying. You have a lot to say, a lot of feedback to give, but I want you to rest assured that I have made copious notes of the endless amounts of feedback that you've given me over the years. Endless amounts of feedback. So to provide a little context for this assessment, we need to reflect on the timeline of our time working together. I remember being a resident when I first met Monique. I remember working with you and wondering, why does this med student have so much energy? Energy that I could best describe as chaotic good. Even as a med student, your personality was one that infused the entire workplace with a sense of joy. As the years went on, I would come to see this personality operate in almost like a transformational quality. In a way, you tend to amplify the best qualities of the people around you. During the early part of your residency, you got the chance to work with me on the inpatient adolescent unit. I had a lot of fun. You may have a different take. One incident that really stands out in my mind was listening to you talk to a very angry mom on the phone. I remember this mom yelling at you about so many things that had nothing to do with her child's care. Despite this, I remember you meeting this mother's anger with kindness and empathy. You reminded the mom that it was okay to be scared, overwhelmed, and upset, even if the anger were directed towards you. As you talked to the mom, she quickly calmed down, and by the end of the phone call, she was thanking you. She was thanking you because you helped her deal with the pain of not knowing how to cope with her child's illness. Such patient stories played out many, many different times throughout the years, but each time you grew more adept at utilizing your natural empathy to help the patients take these really painful moments and transform them into periods of healing. I remember telling you at the time that you should make a career working with child and adolescent patients and their families. I had so much reasons for this. I said you seem like a natural fit. I said the patients would love you. However, with a laugh, you quickly dismissed this notion and you reminded me that you couldn't do it. At the core, you said, at my core, I really despise working with children, adolescents, and their parents. And I remember you explained that despite the fact that that's not your favorite patient population, you still found it easy to meet these parents and these patients with empathy because you felt that it was your responsibility to always show up and provide the best care, even when people see you as the villain of their story. This sense of responsibility was not just isolated to patient care, but extended to the way that you interacted with students. I remember you taking so much time to sit down and painstakingly go over their notes and their treatment plans, even when you had a lot to do. I remember you would take your free time after clinic and on lunch breaks to come and help me when I was making these e-learning modules, and you would come and you would help out to create these virtual patients. Your creativity was infectious, and your joy for teaching really showed through your work. Over the years, I've had a number of students come up to me and comment on how much fun they had watching you portray all of these various patients. In fact, I had a couple students who saw you on the unit and they were wondering why the patient was in the workroom. You did a remarkable job. People believed you. Your passion and your patience with others really allows you to transform the educational experience for the students lucky enough to learn from you. I too count myself lucky to have learned from you. Like I said earlier, I did keep copious notes of the feedback that you've given me. One that stands out the most was some truth that you gave me a few years back. You prefaced by saying, "Dr. Roll, you may not be in a frame of mind to receive this feedback, but I want you to hold on to it until you are." And then you told me, "My advice for you is that you need to relax just a little bit." And truth be told, I was not in a state of mind to receive that feedback at the time. I could not understand for the life of me why you thought I was a tightly wound person and I quote, had a quest for perfection. I consulted my notes for that one. Although now it seems obvious, at the time I could not see that area of growth that you pointed out. Eventually, I was in a frame of mind to reflect on the feedback that you had given me, and in it I found great wisdom. I found wisdom that made me better at my work. So, I do wish you well, now that you go on and continue your own journey far away from Loma Linda. I'm excited for all the people who are going to be on the receiving end of your feedback. I'm excited for all the people who soon will amass their own extended list of Dr. Harrison's insights for growth. I'm happy for all the people who too will soon be able to reflect on the wisdom of your words and be made better.
I want to thank the residents that sent me quotes for both Rosa and Caleb, and actually have some from Monique that I've got saved aside in a little envelope for you, which is good too. But I wanted to make sure that I had concrete things for both Rosa and Caleb so that they knew how appreciated they are, because they tend to be very much silent ninja chiefs, where they're just kind of in the background a lot, but they're holding everything together. And I was like, we can say lots of words about hardworking or loyal or kind, but I want to get specific things because they need to know how much they're appreciated. So these are from the people that you work with. Caleb. Caleb exudes a sense of calm stability that few people achieve at this stage in our lives. Caleb has always been a source of peace on rotations and checks in with my spiritual walk. During the pandemic, Caleb started and organized a monthly process group for our class that he dubbed House Sharks NATO. I look forward to it each month. I love how Caleb always takes the time to check in and see how I'm doing and shows a genuine interest in my life. When something needs to be done, it's Caleb to the rescue. Lecture isn't working, call Caleb. Volunteer needed, Caleb will be there. Need a third-year chief resident, send in the big guns, send in Caleb. These are just direct texts I'm reading. Caleb has the strength and fortitude of a quiet, rushing river carving its way through the mountains. During our first year together as Sharknado, we were asked to choose a leader. It was a request we all knew would come with sacrifices of time and energy. Caleb stepped up to be our resident representative, and pretty much since then we have never allowed him to step down from that role. Multiple residents shared with me that if you're going through heartache or breakup, Caleb is the one to have around. He'll show up with a cup of coffee and a walk in the park, or his trunk full of surfboards and a day at the beach. Finally, my story. It was our first ever resident retreat at Lake Arrowhead. I spent the previous 6 months raising funds for the retreat and was eagerly planning activities for the residents. Caleb approached me and asked if he could organize Vespers for the Friday night. And I said, sure. I didn't know how many residents would attend, but I was glad that he had interest in doing this. That Friday night, every resident showed up for Vespers, run by an intern, which quickly became an impromptu process group. It carried on late into the night and ended with the residents sharing a group hug together. I was filled with gratitude and relief to see the residents I loved so dearly beginning to heal, bonded together by Caleb's kind heart. Caleb, many residents aspire to be the glue that holds a residency together. You have been that and so much more. We are all a little more whole because of you. Our program is so incredibly lucky to have you staying on board in fellowship to help us continue to grow and bond together. Congratulations on your graduation.
All right, next up we have Ariana. So I will lead with a passage of scripture which I think highlights what I think of when I think of Ariana right off the bat. So just pull that up here. From Matthew chapter 5. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. So when I think of Ariana, ever since I met her in medical school, that's what I've thought of, is just her light and her presence and the way she carries that and just exudes that naturally to everyone around her. I think I had the privilege of going up to Washington to attend her wedding and just seeing her and her husband Daniel and just the joy that their friends and family had in celebrating that occasion with them, you know, in a beautiful place and a place that carried great memories and meaning for her, I think was just very striking and very touching. And Ariana just carries that light and presence to everyone around her, whether it's, you know, her friends, her colleagues, faculty, and of course her patients. And so I pray that that light, and I know where that strength and light comes from, I pray that that continues always, and that the Lord will bless you and guide you and keep you. And even though you'll be finishing residency in less than a month, and I don't know what your plans are a couple years from now, I do hope that you will become a Loma Linda lifer. So I will certainly try to work that out with Dr. Murdoch and somehow plant some seeds in your mind in advance. So. So I have the pleasure of saying a few words on behalf of Tom. Now, I think Priscilla and Dr. Murdoch and Dr. Pro probably know that when I do these things, especially it seems like with the guys, I tend to like do a little bit of roasting in there too. But since I am supervising Tom again for the next 5+ months, that would probably get a little awkward. So we're just gonna stick with the emotional, mushy stuff for today. I think definitely saying anything about Tom has to start with just respect of his perseverance and his diligence. I'm sure I've told him at some point, I can't imagine like starting a career and then going back to training, even if it was like just to do like a 1 or 2 year graduate program or something, let alone putting aside a successful 10+ year psychotherapy career to go through medical school and then residency, you know, like basically an 8-year detour through the desert in order to get to the promised land of psychiatry. And so just doing that, let alone handling that and his obligations to his family and his devotion to his daughter, is incredible and deserves a lot of respect and acknowledgement, which I'm sure, Tom, you don't get enough of, you know, for that level of commitment. So I wanted to share a passage from Scripture that will hopefully be of some encouragement on that end. This is from Isaiah chapter 40, and it says, "Have you not known, have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might, he increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." So Tom, as you continue your spiritual journey and growth and discovery and persevere through ongoing challenges of life, I pray that that passage might be a source of encouragement and comfort to you.
I have the honor to present to you today Dr. Willa Song. Before I go on, I would like to acknowledge the presence of the wonderful people here with us in person, as well as the families, friends, staff, and residents who are gathered watching this event. Will you please put your hands together for Dr. Willa Song. Willa, congratulations on your graduation. Enjoy the moments of celebration and good cheer today. You've certainly earned it. There are times in our careers when we find ourselves tired and weary of the everyday tasks and the clinical responsibilities. Times when you wish for an event or a person that would remind you of the strength within. In working with kids exposed to acute trauma, we are advised to direct their attention to the helpers, because that would bring about healing and ways of coping with the challenges. This is how I view Willa. She is a strong and resilient person whom you can always count on to be helping patients, colleagues, and even attendings. I've spent time with Willa in supervision, listening to
her experiences with patients in therapy, and other life's events. She never failed to impress me with her insight, compassion, teachability, and consistency in showing up to our supervision time. Mr. and Mrs. Jonathan and Leaf Song, you have raised a wonderful and kind-hearted daughter. I can see her future in child psychiatry so bright, it burns my eyes. I also want to acknowledge Willa's grandmother, Deng Shangling. Your granddaughter adores you so much. Willa will go on and start her fellowship training at the University of Southern California, Los Angeles County, where she will pursue her dream of helping immigrant youth and other marginalized members of society. Take with you our well wishes, prayers, and phone numbers in case you find yourself in need of encouragement. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up to our graduate and future child psychiatrist, Dr. Willa Song.